Hi, hello, and welcome to Qasetna, which means our story in Arabic. This podcast is run by the College of Arts and Sciences at the American University of Sharjah, and this is the place where you recommend us the topics that you want to hear about, and we talk about them. I'm Hala Nasar, a graduating journalism student with a minor in theater, and I have with me
Al-Tekreeti, a journalism student who's a junior and double minoring in international relations and Middle Eastern studies.
okay, Mr. Middle East.
You gotta do it.
So tell me why Middle Eastern studies? I didn't even know you were minoring in that actually.
I think it's a new program. It wasn't there when I first started looking into minoring in different things outside of journalism. And by the time it was available, I had already taken different political science classes, so I thought I might as well do it.
Oh, that's interesting. And I know you love political studies and Middle Eastern studies. It's also obvious from what you're wearing.
I mean, yeah, it's also very comfortable and.
Yes.
But I will say I wanted to double major, but then I ended up taking too many random classes for that to work.
I wanted to double major too, but I just never knew in what. Because I remember when I first came to uni, and this was the uni that my mom really wanted me to attend. She was like, you need to go to the American University of Sharjah. It's my dream, and I'm sure you'll do great there. So I come here. And as I was registering, I was like, what do I want to study? Because I had thought I wanted to go into medicine. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not sure that's the right path for me. After studying for like 4 years in high school, specifically science courses, getting A's in them just so I can go the medicine route, I come here and I'm like, yeah, I don't think I want to study medicine, Mom. My Arab Palestinian mother went like, oh, what do you want, sweetie, then? And I was like, something with writing. And I mean, it's always been the thing that I loved doing growing up. So I came here and I was looking through their list of courses and I saw mass communication. And I was like, what is that? Sounds like
They communicate a lot.
they communicate a lot. I need that. And they were like, well, it's either journalism or IMC, which is integrated marketing communications. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll stay in journalism and see if I like it. And if not, I'll change. But when I just started in it, that very first class with Professor Joseph Gibbs, man.
Yeah, you get to know that you like journalism.
Man. I was like, oh, okay. I truly belong here, I think. And from there on, I don't know. I didn't know what to double minor in. And now I'm graduating, so I don't think there's time for that.
I mean, maybe you can sneak one more under the table, hopefully.
Well, I did, realize that I loved theater. So I am minoring in theater. But other than that, I guess that was it for me. Yeah.
I mean, don't think there's a better choice for a creative outlet here,
Yeah.
given that we have a ton of cool plays. I mean, I know Fastus is going on next semester?
This semester.
This semester?
This semester, I'm starring in it. I told you about the...
Yes, but I forgot the dates.
Yes. I'm starring in Faustus, Dr. Faustus. And it's so cool because it was a rendition written by Professor Anthony Tassa in the Performing Arts program. Sort of a rendition that he edited and crafted after Christopher Marlowe, the original author of the play. It's really cool. I'm very excited because, I get to do costumes every single year for the plays. And it's also nice to act. Yeah.
I can imagine. I mean, I haven't missed a single play that you guys have done. I've been to every musical ensemble too.
As you should.
It's from two aspects, really. I love watching these performances, and you also want to support the local art scenes.
Yes.
And I think, especially being in Sharjah, that's a really large part of studying here.
I know.
It's such a larger, artistic scene and outlet than anywhere else in the UAE, as far as I've seen. So you got to support it in a way.
Yes, and I mean, Sharjah is very intertwined with the arts anyway, and culture. I mean, it is the crux of the city, the beauty of the culture and the art. So I didn't realize how much I loved doing costume, theater, and acting, singing even, until I came to AUS and tried the theater. Actually, Professor Tassa was the one who got me into the theater minor. I was actually thinking of English first, and then I was like, I don't know. And I met with Professor Isabella Tavares from the same performing arts program. And she's a costume design professor. And she was like, come to my lab and see how it is. And I go, picture this.
Okay.
7 sewing machines, a large table, bunch of shears, fabric everywhere. And she goes like, we are going to make a costume for this show. And I sit and I watch it and I tell her, so would you be my minor advisor? Because I'm in.
But what show was this?
I think it was before Strawberries in July, which was actually written by an AOS alumna. But it was played in the space, and we had to make costumes for it. It was the first show that I worked on in AOS, and I did this costume. It was a Greek sort of inspired play. I did this costume where I had to make a keton. That's what they, I guess, call the dresses. And once I made it, I was like, she guided me throughout the whole process, but I realized how much I love doing it. Like, I'm graduating and looking back on it, I got to do my 2 most favorite things here, like journalism, writing, and costume and theater.
I honestly think it has a lot to do with the faculty themselves.
Yes.
I mean, I don't think you could have gotten any better chance to go into theater if it wasn't for Professor Tassa.
Yes.
He came in once to one of my journalism classes because we had to interview him for an assignment, and then he immediately started preaching about the virtues of theater and why it's important. And I think it was something like improvised theater that was making a comeback or whatever. He immediately started like saying,
device theater.
Yes, device theater. And I was immediately interested, which is, I think it was very close around the time of Strawberries of July. That's how I knew about the entire department as a whole. I didn't even know we had music classes to begin with. But then he introduced me to that all other, side of AUS. And I think it's a very nice contrast to journalism, because with how it is now with being all, online and everything, there's a bit of a disconnect between your work and your physical product. But then with theater, you sort of supplement that because you're working with your hands at a sewing machine deep into like 6 p.m. working on it, stressing when if, for example, someone tears a dress by accident.
Oh, that happened. I think you were there, actually.
Yes, I was.
Okay, you want to tell the story?
So it's a just normal calm day, 7 or 6 p.m. I'm just sitting in one of the AUS buildings talking with my friends. Suddenly, there's a text from Hala. What happens, Hala? I don't remember the specific details, but I know someone accidentally tore her dress that she's been working on for like a week or 2 weeks in half while inspecting it. And the play was in 2 days?
Like, it was like, in maybe 5 days or so.
And those dresses take a lot of time to make.
Yeah.
So I take a trip down to the arts department. I open the door, and she's just there in the corner looking at her destroyed dress in her hands.
Crying my eyes out.
Yeah, your mascara was ruined.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
You got me a sandwich though, so thanks for that.
I mean, yeah. At least that I could do for some very good comedic material.
Yeah. But I think looking back at my experience here, being in journalism really shaped who I am as a person.
Oh, I agree. I was talking with Professor Gibbs about this in one of my freshman classes with him. I think the same one that you took. The crux of the whole class ended up being that journalists aren't made, they're found. Like, you can work as a journalist, but you're never gonna be a journalist until it's the sort of person that you are. It's definitely a passion more so than a career,
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I don't think you can place anyone into that, which is the big distinction between us and some other colleges. Some people can begrudgingly go into engineering or something else, but no one's gonna begrudgingly go into journalism.
Because it takes a lot of mental energy and creativity and curiosity to want to go out, find stories, talk to people, find quotes, facts, make sure you're accurate, get to the bottom of the story and produce something of quality, something that has your style, your voice in it.
Yes, fully. And that's a very important distinction, I think, the style and voice thing. Because if someone who's, let's say, hardwired to be an engineer, then they're going to take a journalism story, they're going to look at all of their notes, and then they're going to write something that's akin to like an instruction manual. So this happened with absolutely no color to it at all. But then someone else who's more creative than they are, leaning towards the more, facts-based side of things, they might as well just write a fiction story. They're going to create facts out of thin air. They're not going to accurately represent anything.
Yeah.
Being a journalist is that happy medium where you appreciate the facts for what they are, but you also seek to find the colorful side of things, the side of things that is important, that people would not only need to read but want to read.
Yeah, it's a very nuanced balance between being able to tell a story accurately while making sure you're writing a story for someone to read and there is someone who wants to read it. Your voice is going to be there, your style is going to be there, but you are going to say it with the most in the most accurate manner that you can say it in. And I think that's what I enjoyed a lot about journalism, is that I could express what I wanted to say while making sure that whoever is listening to me is as much of a truth that I can muster just from the facts that I have.
Oh, I fully agree with you. I mean, and that's probably the most noble, ambition that you could have had going into this whole thing. And I think it's very important, especially given, the time that we're living in now with how news are curated in general. Good journalists are needed. They're crucially needed for any fully functioning society. And I do wish that our department was a bit bigger, obviously.
Oh, I know. And I wish there was more awareness about how great of a program it is, because it fully shaped the kind of journalist that I want to be.
Oh, yeah, definitely. People don't necessarily know what journalism is. It encompasses many different things, as we both have learned over our studies here. I mean, you do the writing stuff, yes, but you also do the post-production stuff. You do the producing,
the filming,
exactly, producing interviews and everything.
Yes,
there's so many different parts working in the journalism machine that people aren't privy of.
What's your favorite thing about being a journalist?
I mean, other than saying I'm a journalist.
Oh yeah, I love that, right? I'm a journalist.
I mean, it is a bad habit where people say, "Oh, I'm a journalist," so that you think you get a bit uppity. It's a sort of a superiority complex, if it's deserved sometimes. But working, I think, uncovering stories, going someplace that people usually overlook, and then finding a story where someone isn't gonna necessarily need to read this, but they would want to. And their life would be better off for reading it. Whether it's a person with a story that would have gone untold, or something that. And I think,
Yes, that's exactly my favorite thing too. That telling untold stories.
It's definitely not even, that's the thing, with the whole departments thing. People don't know that necessarily is within journalism. For the common person, they might think that it falls within creative writing, for example. Because we think journalism, we think hard news. And while that is a part of it, the magazine aspect and the literary journalism aspect of it is not that well known, but that is exactly what I'm assuming is both of our favorite parts about it.
Yes, actually that is the most part that I enjoy within journalism. It's the interconnection between literature and literary writing and journalism itself. So literary journalism is a whole scope, it's a whole world filled with creative expression and visceral curiosity and honesty, while just showing pure documentation of things that are happening, real, raw, there it is, here you go, and this is my style, I hope you like it. It's what I want to do, actually. Yeah,
I have always found that part really fascinating, because as journalists, and I guess with most literature really, you only call it literature in retrospect. So works of Truman Capote or Hemingway, in their time, they probably wouldn't have been called literature, but now we obviously call them as such. And I wonder if you had gone with that literature minor, if you would have maybe gone that way, you would have gone around the journalism department saying, this is not literature, you're just writing stuff.
So you're telling me I'm going to be pretentious?
Potentially, not necessarily. But literature is interesting because it is somewhat pretentious, but it's important for any society's high culture. But then also you cannot place any piece of written work in it without having it be done in retrospect, right? You simply cannot do that. It needs time to, I hate this word, but marinate into something that's worth being placed into the category.
I love the word marinate.
I don't like it.
Marinate some chicken, man, before you eat it. It gives out the flavor when you're cooking.
Do you do much cooking?
I do, actually, because I stay in dorms. So I cook for me and my roommates often, and I do marinate my chicken. That's what I'm saying.
I really wouldn't have guessed with the amount of Talabat drivers coming in and out.
Not me. sometimes, but not me.
Clearly.
I wanted to tell you though, I've read some of your work
Thank
and I
you.
love your writing style.
Thank you.
There's always that distinct, like, voice, okay, that I just, if I read it, I knew it was written by you because there is a specific rawness to the words. You almost sound blunt, which I enjoy because I, I very much see it closely being related to my kind of writing. And that is why sometimes when we're working together, I feel like we work well because we have that foundational bluntness in saying things.
Yeah.
But other than that, you always have like a way to weave in certain sentences that you may not understand from first time you read it, but once you see it within context, it's so much bigger than it is. I don't know. I think.
I mean, thank you. That's very high praise coming from you.
Oh.
I've also obviously read your work, given that we've worked together. I'm sure after the first, from my side at least, when we started working together on some of our projects, I immediately went to the MCM Media Hub, check it out, and I read through most of your stories.
Check it out.
I read through most of your stories, and I really enjoyed them.
Glad.
And then one that I really, really enjoyed till now is the one about the tailor shop.
Oh, that's my favorite story that I've
Yeah.
written.
No, I love that story.
So, to recap, I went with Abdullah to this area in Sharjah, and that's funny, I forgot that we did this together in the first place, but like, yeah, so we went, and it was a very sort of cramped street where you wouldn't really know what kind of shops are on there unless you had to go look for them actively. That tailor was called Nam Tailor, and we parked in front of it. And when we went there, I was a bit like, I wanted someone with me because I was afraid that I would possibly not be able to speak the language, or maybe I would need someone to be with me just to make sure that I'm getting everything covered for the story. So he volunteered to come with, and when you did, and we went in, I was right, I just couldn't speak the language because it was pidgin, you
Yes.
said? Yeah, it was between Arabic, English, Urdu. Yeah, it was just a mix.
It was Pigeon, and I think it was really funny because the obvious choice at that point, or I guess in retrospect, would have been getting someone who actually speaks Urdu. But what actually ended up happening is two Arabs went into this this tailor shop, neither of which spoke Urdu. One of which came in with hopes to translate Urdu to another Arab. What actually ended up happening is I was translating broken Arabic, and English, which is called Pidgin for those interested, to her. And then she would say it back to me in English, and then I would translate it into broken Arabic English for him.
And it actually worked out pretty well.
It did. It was just a very roundabout way.
Yes. And I found out soon after it was about this tailor who was in a very small shop, but he would make miniature garments for people before he made the full garment, just to make sure that what they want is visually correct. Like, he would show them what it is before he would make the full garment. He was so good at details and so good at wanting to make the thing that the customer exactly wanted. But unfortunately, he passed away, Mr. Muhammad. And I wanted to tell his story. I wanted his name to live on, and you were kind enough to join me. And I wrote that story, and it absolutely was beautiful.
And it was beautifully written. One important side note about that, I think people don't understand just how interdisciplinary journalism is.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way you got to know about this guy was through Professor Tavares.
Yes!
And
My costume professor!
yeah, it's very interesting how something... I mean, you can weave in your interest. So you're interested in theater, and then through Professor Tavares, you got this tip about a guy who does such a unique thing that no other tailor does.
No, that's true, because what it was is that we wanted a suit jacket altered for last semester's play, which was called A Museum in Baghdad. The suit jacket, she was telling me about this tailor that she's been going to for years. She was telling me that he died recently, and she started tearing up, and she was crying. And I felt so like it was my responsibility to go out and write this story. And I asked her a little more about it. I asked for the location, and when I went there, It was absolutely the right thing to do. I felt it was the right thing to do. And now actually Professor Tavares has that story taped outside her door.
That's adorable.
Which is very sweet. Yeah. And I remember she described him as a magician, and she always imagines him as someone who will live on and lives on. So it's
Stories
nice.
like these are what make our careers just amazing.
I know.
I think these stories and the meeting interesting people are the two parts that I would say I enjoy the most. I mean, for example, I was working on a story about the Sharjah Triennial Architecture event that was happening last year. I ended up going to the heart of Sharjah. I was filming some shots over there, and then I went into this hotel that was, based out of an old, like really old, traditionally Marathi house. So I walk inside, and then there's just a white guy there. And I thought, he seems out of place. So I'm going to go and talk to him, see why he's here. Maybe he's visiting Sharjah or something. And again, my whole story is about the architectural triennial. I speak to the guy. Turns out he's an architecture professor coming in from England for this triennial specifically.
Oh.
Just by sheer coincidence. So I managed to talk to him. I got a small interview with him, and then it went up. I would have never met the guy if it weren't for me just going out there to get that one story and then being curious enough and having the incentive to go and speak to him.
Yes, curiosity. I mean, this is really, you were talking about before how journalists are found, not made. This is what is a thing that is so, like, important in a journalist. You got to be curious. Yeah. You just got to.
And then the incentive of it all, like, normally you wouldn't go up to a stranger that you find interesting and speak to him.
Oh, I know. It's a bit taboo too sometimes.
I mean, you would. You would. I wouldn't personally.
I would, but it's a bit like weird to just walk up to someone and be like, "Hi, my name is," and I want to ask you about this, because people will take it as if, okay, personal space. What does this person want?
Yeah.
But it's also the way you carry yourself. So it's always nerve-wracking to go and be like, "Hi, I'm Hala. I'm from this university. I'm here to interview you about this. Can we chat for a moment?" To make them feel more comfortable. And it's not like it always works, because a lot of times I do get rejections and I do get, sorry, don't have time, sorry, can't talk. I'm not comfortable with this. Where are you from again? That sort of thing. And it's a bit humbling.
It is very humbling.
It's a humbling experience. But, you need these moments, because the moments that people actually accept to talk to you, and it's the most unexpected, most craziest story. These are the moments that you can say, yeah, I wrote that.
I think a very large part of going out in public and speaking to these interesting people that you find is actually having equipment on you. Because more often than not, if someone sees you walking around with a camera or, God forbid, a mic, they're going to be honored, not even just comfortable to stop and talk to you, but honored. People want to be on TV. People generally like having their stories told, and
yes,
honestly showing off in front of their friends and family, like, I'm on TV or I'm in this article somewhere.
You know what's my favorite? Those really funny interviews that people get stopped on the street and then they're asked questions like, for example, "Oh, how do you feel about this thing?" And it's always such a random thing, and they go into like a full-length answer about the most random thing. It's always my favorite
I love these.
to watch.
They're amazing.
Oh, have you seen the ones about the couples where they go like, "Are you two a couple?" And then they ask them questions about each other. I'm like, that's not journalism, but I enjoy watching it. Thank you.
It could be journalism if you want it to be, but it is very entertaining. News is both entertainment and actual news.
True. Yes. Well, either way, I know that when I start working in the industry, I'm going to have so many funny and great and like important experiences that I would always want to talk about and share. And actually, one of my goals is coming back to AUS and telling these experiences to the students and just talking about how being a journalist in the real world, in the actual journalism industry, how is it like? I can't wait for that, frankly.
Oh, that would be amazing. I mean, when you actually get some important work done later on, come back, people are going to be so inspired. You're probably going to have 100 more journalism students just because of that alone.
Oh, I can't wait. That sounds amazing. Well, I'm so glad we talked about this. It feels like a perfect ending almost to my journey.
Just put a neat little bow tie on it.
Yeah, a neat little bow tie. It's actually a start another journey. So I'm excited for that.
Good luck with that. And
Thank you.
thank you for having me here.
Yes. Thank you for joining me, Abdullah. It was really fun talking to you about this. And thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to comment below who would you like to see next and what would you like us to talk about. Thank you.